Shalom, guys. Welcome back to another episode here. Just YHWH Ministry with Casa de Israel. Thank you for being there. Last week, or 2 weeks ago, we were able to upload a new video for the portion. This week, we're going to also do a video. It'll probably be short. Do my best to make them short. As you can see, background is a little different. Ooh, out of focus. And I have the old design, but we have a couch. My wife has taken over my office, and I have lost control over it. So the books are over here. Now it's just nice, white and plain. Probably won't stay like that. We'll see what happens. But as of right now, new background. So we're here in Torah portion Yitro, in the book of Exodus or Shemot, and it's interesting, right? There's a lot of elements of this portion that have to do with leadership. That is a theme, at least, that is standing out for me, I guess. I don't know if it's something that I need to learn or that I need to learn. And so Yitro is a portion that is very important, and we will approach it very differently than we normally used to. Like I said, it probably will be short. So let's just get started with Torah portion Yitro. Yitro, it begins in Exodus chapter 18 verses 1 to Exodus chapter 20 verse 26. The Torah or the prophets portion is Isaiah 6 verse 1 through Isaiah 9 verse 7. And the Brit Hadashah or New Testament portion is Matthew 19 verse 16 through 26. Before we get started, let's do the Torah blessing. Mikol ha'amim benatan lanu et Torato. Baruch ata Adonai noten haTorah. Bless Adonai who is blessed. Bless Adonai who is blessed now and forever. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who has chosen us from among the peoples and given us the Torah. Blessed are you, Adonai, giver of the Torah. Amen. So, in our Torah portion for this week, Moses, father-in-law Jethro, or Jitro, had heard of Israel's deliverance from Egypt and went to the land of Rephidim to meet with Moses. There Moses recounted the great story of the Exodus, telling him all that the Lord had done to Pharaoh and to the Egyptians. For Israel's sake, Jethro rejoiced, blessed the Lord, and offered sacrifices which were communally eaten with Moses, Moses' brother Aaron, and the 70 elders of Israel. After this celebration, Jethro observed how Moses sat every day to judge the people from the morning into the evening, and expressed concern that his son-in-law was taking on too much responsibility. Jethro then wisely advised his son-in-law to appoint a hierarchy of magistrates, judges, to help him govern the people, thereby freeing Moses to be more effective intercessor before the Lord. Jethro's wise counsel helped and implement the system of justice that later became the basis of Jewish social law, which is the Sanhedrin or the Beit Din. And so we highlighted and spoke highly of this when it comes to the judgment, the judges, and how that system came to be in ways. And so that's videos from a couple of years ago that you guys can go on and watch in this channel. Like I always say, like, subscribe if you like the content. And so this week we're gonna just look at it a little different. Okay? Wow, that was crazy the way I looked at the camera. All right, let's get to it. Exodus 18 verse 1 through 6 says, Now Jethro, the priest of Midian and father-in-law of Moses, heard everything God had done for Moses and for his people Israel, and how the Lord had brought Israel out of Egypt. After Moses had sent away his wife Zipporah, his father-in-law Jethro received her and her 2 sons. One son was named Gershom, for Moses said, I have become a foreigner in a foreign land. Then the other was named Eliezer, for he said, my father's God was my helper. He saved me from the sword of Pharaoh. Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, together with Moses' sons and wife, came to him in the wilderness, where he was camped near the mountain of God. Jethro had sent word to him, I, your father-in-law, Jethro, am coming to you with your wife and her 2 sons. So Moses went out to meet his father-in-law and bowed down and kissed him. They greeted each other and then went into the tent. Moses told his father-in-law about everything the Lord had done to Pharaoh and the Egyptians for Israel's sake, and about all the hardships they had met along the way and how the Lord has saved them. After this, we see that his father-in-law is observing, like I said in the introduction, sacrifices, praises to the Lord, and then he's witnessing Moses speaking to the people, judging cases, and he is paying attention to how Moses is leading the people. And so this is where the context shifts a little bit. And so it says, Exodus 18, verse 21-23, but select capable men from all the people, men who fear God, trustworthy men who hate dishonest gain, and appoint them as officials over the thousands and hundreds and fifties and tens. Have them serve as judges for the people at all times, but have them bring every difficult case to you. The simple cases they can decide themselves, that will make your load lighter, because they will share it with you. If you do this and God so commands, you will be able to stand then strain, and all these people will go home satisfied. And so Pharaoh sees Moses overworking himself as a leader, and he says, you should do this, if it's the Lord's will, of course. And as of what we see, it is something that Moses eventually does apply. And so Yitro gives his advice, and then we are introduced to the next scene, which is the mountain. Okay, and so what we're trying to do here is understand the transition. The authority in God's kingdom is exercised through service and structure, not domination. So we're transitioning from what we witnessed with Pharaoh, right? And this is very important because this was introduced to us in the story of Joseph, right? Joseph comes into a situation where he is in facing extreme circumstances of betrayal from his family members, his brothers, but he is put in a position where he is able to bring that authority of God, and he does it through his service, and he provides a structure in which Egypt and many people survive, right? And so this Pharaoh that we are being redeemed from in this story forgets that, and he starts to dominate over the people because he is afraid that because of their growth and their prosperity, they will become so wealthy and so big and so numerous that they will leave him and go join other nations. And then if a war happens, then they're gonna come against me. Hence, I oppress them. And so he decided to do that. In the process of it, he loses everything. His kingdom, his family, his leaders say, isn't this enough? Like, Egypt is destroyed. Like, God has won. So let the people go. And so once we exit that, God is bringing them to the desert, and he's trying to teach them, okay, you see what happened to him? Now we have to make sure that that condition is out of you. And the way that we're going to do that is establishing God's authority and his kingdom, and we're going to exercise it by serving not only God but one another in a structure. Okay, that is why the commandments come into place. Okay, and so we're at the mountain. Moses goes in and out, and it's interesting because there's a verse that is very powerful here in this portion that says that he goes into the Lord's presence in the darkness, right? And so it's very interesting. And people are in the bottom of this mountain. There's parameters that are set, and limits that are established in approaching God. The Lord descended to the top of the mountain at Sinai and called Moses to the top of the mountain. So Moses went up, and the Lord said to him, go down and warn the people, so they do not force their way through to see the Lord, and many of them perish. Even the priests who approach the Lord must consecrate themselves, or the Lord will break out against them. Right? So here now, we're going from God against Pharaoh, destruction. Now is relationship. Now we're entering the situation in which the people of Israel are the first to start to depict, to bring forth what is going to be a relationship with God. And the first parameters that are set are God is saying, before you come to me, you need to make sure that you have consecrated yourself. So do not approach me out of consecration or in ignorance. Meaning, don't come to me in disobedience. Hence, I'm going to establish the parameters and you obey them. Okay? I hope that made sense. Okay, so Isaiah. All right, so we're going to jump. Time jump. Isaiah 6 says, in the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord, high and exalted, seated on the throne, and the train of his robe filled the temple. Okay, now, this is interesting because we just jumped from this image, but here it is temple, throne, robe, and he's sitting there, right? In Mount Sinai, we see mountain, fire, smoke, and Moses is going to witness this, okay? And so, same scenario, different vantage points, right? We see Moses, the one that was chosen, and he established parameters on how we approach. In this situation, we see the image that Moses sees, okay? It says here, or in this case, Isaiah. It says, above him were seraphim, each with 6 wings. With 2 wings they cover their faces. With 2 they cover their feet. And with 2 they were flying. And they were calling to one another, Kadosh, Kadosh, holy, holy is the Lord Almighty. The whole earth is full of his glory. At the sound of their voices, the doorposts, the threshold shook, and the temple was filled with smoke. Woe to me, I cried. I am ruined, for I am a man of unclean lips, and I live among a people of unclean lips, and my eyes have seen the King, the Lord Almighty. Then one of these seraphim flew to me with a live coal in his hand, which he had taken with tongues from the altar. With it he touched my mouth and said, see, this has touched your lips. Your guilt is taken away, and your sin is atoned for. Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, whom shall I send? And whom will go for us? And I said, here am I. Send me. He said, go and tell these people, be ever hearing, but never understanding. Be ever seeing, but never perceiving. Make the heart of these people callous. Make their ears dull and close their eyes. Otherwise, they might see with their eyes, hear with their ears, understand with their hearts, and turn and be healed. Then I said, for how long, Lord? And he answered, until the cities lie ruined and without inhabitant, until the houses are left deserted, and the fields ruined and ravaged, until the Lord has set everyone far away, and the land is utterly forsaken. And though a tenth remained in the land, it will again be laid waste. But as the terebinth and the oak leaf stumps, when they are cut down, so the holy seed will be the stump in the land. Right? So this is interesting because now we're seeing this image of Moses' mountain. But in that image, the people have an opportunity. They have an opportunity to establish a structure of service in obedience, not only to God, but to those that are with them in their vicinity, in their community, in the nation of Israel. And then here, there's an introduction of the same image. God, throne, seraphim, kadosh, kadosh, and this man saying, I have not clean lips. I am not worthy of approaching. And in both images, we see one says there's going to be elements or structures that are going to dictate who approaches or doesn't approach. Moses gave us the commandments. Here the seraphim says, cold lips, you're clean. You have been atoned for. And now he says, here am I, in service. And then when he is given the mission, he says, go tell the people, be ever hearing, but never understanding. be ever seeing but never perceiving, make their hearts of this people callous, and make their ears dull, close their eyes. Otherwise they might see with their eyes, hear with their ears, and understand with their hearts, and turn and be healed. And he asks, how long? And he says, until everything is destroyed and ruined. Until what is left is the seed, the holy seed. And it's important because in these images, we're depicting God's authority, God's throne, and those that are chosen. In this case, Moses. In the other case, Isaiah. But the people are the common denominator here. In Moses, they have a chance to come near if they are clean, if they are prepared, if they are consecrated. In Isaiah, they are ignorant to God's will. So they are made blind, they are made deaf, but in their process of, hopefully, they will become healed. Because in their ignorance, they don't see God. But if they are limited by God, then they will be healed. And it's very interesting because the ignorance of men sometimes gets them destroyed, which is the thing that we're trying to extract from the people of Israel in Moses, and the thing that needs to die in Isaiah. Because Isaiah is one of those letters that is letting the people know they're going to be utterly destroyed because they don't listen to God's commands. Okay, so we continue with Matthew. Okay, let's go to Matthew 8. When Yeshua, Jesus, had entered Capernaum, a centurion came to him asking for help. Lord, he said, my servant lies at home paralyzed, suffering terribly. Yeshua said to him, shall I come and heal him? The centurion replied, Lord, I do not deserve to have you come under my roof, but just say the word, and my servant will be healed. For I myself am a man under authority, with soldiers under me. I tell this one, and he goes. And I tell the other one, come, and he comes. I say to my servant, do this, and he does it. When Yeshua heard this, he was amazed, and said to those following him, truly I tell you, I have not found anyone in Israel with such great faith. I say to you that many will come from the east and the west, and will take their places at the feast with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. But the subjects of the kingdom will be thrown outside into the darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Then Yeshua said to the centurion, go, let it be done just as you believed it would be. And his servant was healed that moment. Time jump, time jump, time jump. With Moses, we see Moses, Yitro. Moses tells Yitro the amazing thing God has done. How he has destroyed Egypt and saved Israel. Kept his promises to fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Yitro celebrates, recognizes Moses' authority, offers sacrifice, but then witnesses Moses leading and says, I advise you to join with others. Delegate easier matters. Focus on harder and important matters, if it is the Lord's will. Then we jump to God revealing himself at the mountain to the people, establishing Moses as a leader and the boundaries that are set as those to come into his presence, that are consecrated. But then Isaiah says that he is of unclean lips. He is impure at the presence of the throne. And when he is cleansed and atoned for, he says, here I am. Send me. And when God sends him, he says, the people see, hear, but don't listen. So make them blind and deaf so that they will be healed in their ignorance. But then we go to Yeshua, and he is with the centurion, which to the Israelites or to the Jewish people and the leaders of the time were Gentiles, ignorant and blind, have no knowledge of the things of God, the commandments of the Lord. But this centurion, this Gentile, is at the presence of the Messiah, and he needs a miracle for his servant. And he says, I recognize that you are a leader, that you have authority. And just like I have my people and I tell them go and they go, and I tell them come and they come, I know you have the words of authority. And if you say it, it will be done. And Yeshua says, I have not found faith. Let's read it. Let's go back. The centurion replied, Lord, I do not deserve to have you come under my roof. But say the word, and my servant will be healed, for I myself am a man under authority, with soldiers under me. And I tell this one, go, and he goes. And the one come, and comes. I say to my servant, do this, and he does it. When Yeshua heard this, he was amazed and said to those following him, truly I tell you, I have not found anyone in Israel with such great faith. You will say, Alex, how does this connect to anything we have just said between Moses and Isaiah? But Moses recognizes God in front of Yitro, his father-in-law, the one that was a witness not only to him leaving Egypt, but also him maintaining himself outside of Egypt. And when he was called upon, Jethro was a witness. He had wife and children. Jethro was somebody of respect and renown before Moses became Moses. And when Jethro sees Moses, he recognizes not only God's authority, but Moses' authority. And Jethro says, delegate to others and focus on important matters for God. Isaiah says that the people were so blind and so ignorant that in their blindness and ignorance, they will be healed. And until when will this happen? Until everything is ruined. That the only thing that is left, it is the holy seed of God. And here we have a centurion who is ignorant and blind to those that have knowledge and understanding. But he not only recognized authority, but also recognized the holy word of God, which is the holy seed that will be left. So when everything is destroyed, when everything is taken away, when everything is stripped off, is the holy word of God still alive in his people? Jethro was teaching us how to recognize authority. Isaiah highlighted the resistance of it. The centurion demonstrated the essence of what it is to recognize and contain the holy seed. It's very important to understand that in the sequence of the Exodus, especially in the desert, what kept the people of Israel from reaching the land in peace was their ignorance and unwillingness to follow God's holy word. And it wasn't until everything was destroyed, that generation, that the new generation was able to enter the land. And even then, they entered, but didn't find peace until the Messiah came. And now we have hope in the Messiah and have the seed, the holy seed, that we are learning from every Shabbat. So, remember, it is essentially important to understand and recognize God's authority and understand that God's expectation is for us to enter into His presence consecrated. And the only way that we recognize authority and demonstrate consecration is if whatever is left, once we're stripped of everything, is God's holy seed, which is His Spirit and His Word. So that's all I have for this week. I hope that made sense. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Shavua Tov and Shabbat Shalom. Thank you.